Welcome to the Mama Truth Show, where soulful mamas embrace the whole truth of the messiness and magic of motherhood. Check us out at mamatruthshow.com. Here's your host, Amy Ahlers, the Wake Up Call Coach.
Hi, mamas, and happy Mama Truth Monday. It's Amy Ahlers here, and I'm so excited because we've got a guest in the house that you're going to love. Oh my goodness, she's one of my dearest angel friends, truly. She is an incredible author, an amazing, phenomenal artist. She impacted my own personal life over almost 17 years ago now with her book, Succulent Wild Woman. And I actually married myself. For those of you that are watching video, this is my married myself ring, thanks to her and her incredible work. And I thought that she would be the perfect person to bring on to this Mama Truth show as the very first woman that we're having on the show who doesn't actually have human children of her own. She's going to talk with us today all about loving our own inner child and, of course, share some magical stories because like this woman's stories are incredible. they're never ending, a never ending plethora of magical stories and miraculous stories. And she's also going to talk to us about succulent self-love. It's none other than Susan Ariel Rainbow Kennedy, also known as SARK.
Oh,
hi, honey.
Thank you, Amy. Oh my goodness, and thank you for being my wonderful, incredible friend in every way. And I love that you're doing this show, and I love that you're showing the magic and the messiness and the truth, of motherhood. And I want to say too, I have godchildren and I have a lot of inner children. We'll be talking about that, but it is true. I don't have human biological children of my own. And I'm so glad that you invited me on because I want to support the mothers. I want to support all the mamas to feel so good in themselves.
Yes.
So that bubbles out into all the mothering that they do.
Yes. Well, and I think it's so important. I know, I've been talking with a lot of moms lately about the Mama Truth Retreat, which for those of you who don't know about the Mama Truth Retreat, it's coming up in Hawaii. It's a luxurious 5-day amazing retreat. You can check it out at mamatruthretreat.com. And SARK is actually going to be there in Hawaii with us, sitting in circle, talking to us. I mean, I can't wait. But I've been talking with so many different mamas about this and about putting ourselves first and about self-care and about self-love and talking one-on-one and hearing so many moms that are at their limit. Like they're just at their limit. They're being pulled in a gazillion different directions and they don't know how to get back into that space of peace. And so some of them are coming to Hawaii with us, which is awesome because we're going to give so many tools in that trip that are going to allow them to bring them into their everyday life. But I know that not all of you can come to Hawaii with us. And so I wanted today to have you talk about, give a little taste of what you're going to give in Hawaii and really have us really deeply get on a soul level, mamas, that when we don't take care of ourselves, our children directly impacts our children in a negative way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, let's just say it. Mothering is a sacrificing subject.
Yeah.
And those of you that know my beautiful fiance, who's no longer with us in the physical world, Dr. John Waddell, we wrote a book. And in this book, we talk about how, sacrifice and compromise are so common that we don't even think of it. And especially mothering. It's like, well, sacrifice is necessary and we have to sacrifice for our children. And you actually don't. And we'll be talking about joyful solutions in Hawaii.
Yes.
How to create, because you have to have something that works. It's not that compromise is bad or even that sacrifice is bad, although it stops way short of what is actually nourishing and nurturing to us as people.
This is so oh my gosh, it's so important. And what I think that people don't realize is that just by a mindset shift, even if you're doing the exact same action, you can shift your energy and your vibration and your entire being from feeling like you're sacrificing, which is only paving the road to resentment, and shifting instead into that place of service. And right. And just that shift, because, as parents, of course, we lose sleep. And it's easy to be like, I sacrifice sleep all the time for my children. My newborn baby wakes up and I'm sacrificing. But when we shift our mindset into a different state, then everything changes. It can be so magical.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, I was a former resenter. I resented so many things. I didn't even have to have children to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, there's a million opportunities where you can be mounting up those resentments, even if they're small ones. If you have a whole collection of them, this is how people flip out when their kids get older and they don't even know who they are anymore or what to do. But forget about that for a minute. If you're doing those behaviors now, you're teaching your children to do the same.
Yeah.
And so then you're raising a whole nother generation of sacrificers.
Yeah.
And sacrificers get really crabby.
They do.
And they don't really contribute as much as they have in their heart, because they're so busy trying to manage and maintain these feelings of resentment or grudges. And, if you're listening, I think a lot of parents, a lot of mothers, of course, want to do things for their children.
Right.
But that's from the space that you're talking about. If you do it out of a sense of service and joy with that turn of mindset, and you pay close attention to make sure you're getting the attention that you need, that's the pivotal shift. Because a lot of mothers are doing the service. Let's say they're doing the service, but they're not really giving themselves what they really need.
Yes.
And every one of us needs love and attention. And if you're mothering children, you're not going to get the same kind of love and attention from them that you need.
Yes. It's calling to mind. I remember when Evie was first born, and she was just one of those babies that the minute that 6 p.m. hit, she was just really unhappy. I don't think she was colicky necessarily, but it was I just remember so vividly having her in the sling. And the only thing that would comfort her is this bouncing up and down and bouncing up and down. And it was the only thing that would comfort her. And it was the end of the day, I'm tired. My husband's tired. My, 6-year-old at the time wanted my attention. I just felt pulled in a gazillion different directions in that moment. And it would be so easy to go into sacrifice. And instead I was like, what would it be like for me to just say, oh, evening times belong to Evie. It's all about Evie time. This is just her time to release the resistance of wishing that it could be different. And instead just say, I hereby give up. It is not my time to take care of myself. It is not my time for anything except for focusing on this baby and doing this gosh darn bouncing movement till I feel like I'm going to puke, but it was when I released the resistance to what was, it created all of this space. And then I could know, oh, guess what? The morning time, the afternoon, when she's napping, that I'm going to claim as my time and my hour to call friends like you, to, take a bath, to do whatever I needed to do to take care of myself. But thinking that it was going to happen at that time frame was crazy. It was crazy making.
Yeah. Well, it was a setup, and it was a setup for feeling bad frequently.
Yeah.
And you did a beautiful job. And I witnessed a lot of this, and you really did it. And so for everyone listening, the resistance, so much suffering lies in the resistance.
Yes.
And I'm always trying to listen, you heard me say I've been previously resenter. I was also previously a big resistor. And still am sometimes. And my immediate response is, no, not that.
Right.
Oh no, not this. And of course, anytime we do that, we're in resistance to what actually is. We are then in a perfect position to go right to resentment and right to being unhappy.
Right.
And so what a service for your whole family, for you to have that awareness, take that action, and then do the self-care during the other times.
Right.
See, that's the part that sometimes people don't do.
Right.
Mothers don't do. They're so tired that they think they don't have time to do self-care.
Right.
And so let's say, I just want to tell everyone right now, one of the biggest things you can do immediately is wrap your arms around yourself and then really, really squeeze and kiss your shoulders down your arms. And squeeze and say, you are such a darling. You are so adorable and sweet. You are so loving. You are so kind to your children. You are such a darling, loving, lovable soul. I love you so much. And you just rock that body and you just hug and hug. This isn't just some little squeeze. You roll around. I sometimes spend 10 minutes in bed before I even get up doing this. And whether you have a partner or not, you know, you're not getting that kind of focused attention. The kind of hugging and self-loving you can do for yourself is absolutely life-changing.
That's so beautiful. And it's like, and we keep forgetting that the words that we most want to hear from someone else, we can actually say to ourselves.
Yes. And remember, like you just heard me say it, I bet a lot of mothers are not saying what a loving, wonderful mother I am.
Yeah.
What an adorable, adoring, cute, and funny mother I am. I mean, when I see cute children on the street, I always stop to compliment the child and the mother. Oh. And it always has such a big impact. I say, oh, what a beautiful baby. You know, I love your baby. Can I admire your baby? I always tell people I'm a baby admirer. And so I stop to admire their baby. And then I look up and I say, oh, and you are so beautiful. What a wonderful soul you are. I can see the love. There's like a love glow all around you. And they literally are just like vibrating.
Oh.
Because no one is saying that.
Yeah.
And let me just say, they're not saying it to themselves.
That's right. God, it's so true.
Yeah. And so we can all be that for each other, and then we can all be that for ourselves. And I know it might sound funny, like, but because it's in direct opposition to what most people are listening to, which is critical inner dialogue.
Right.
You forgot the homework. You didn't pack the lunch. You didn't put carrots in the salad. You forgot the sprinkler, all these shit, yes. And it's like, what about the sandwiches? I remember when my mother died, this entire movie started playing inside my mind, and it went on for over a month on a daily basis of all of the kind things. And of course, I didn't even come close to all the kind things she had done for me. I saw an endless loop of all the sweaters that were packed in the car, all of the crayons that were put in the back seat, all of the things that I see you guys do. And Amy, same thing. I mean, I come to your home, I see what you're doing with your children, and there's literally 10,000 things while I'm over there.
It is. It's an endless list
of
things that you're trying to think about and things that we're holding as moms. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
And so to shine light and love on all of those things, and of course they're not always things that we want to be doing.
Right.
Don't always want to do all the things.
No, we don't.
And some of them are boring and stupid and repetitive. And why don't I have someone else that's here to do this? And and so to really take that, to be very deliberate about acknowledging yourself is a self-loving, not only a self-loving act, but a loving act for your children and your family.
So I just want to challenge in the most loving way all of you mamas that are listening right now. Will you please today, and I actually want to challenge you to even put it up on the Mama Truth Circle Facebook group. You can join us at mamatruthcircle.com. And I would love for you to post up there at least 3, if not more, acknowledgments for yourself. Just a reason that you want to acknowledge and love yourself. And do some self-hugging. Start your morning with some self-hugging. And what a beautiful and wonderful tool for us to be teaching our children, to be teaching them about self-hugging, to be teaching them about acknowledging themselves, and really fueling that, that kind of love cup on the inside and allowing it to overflow. It will dramatically improve their lives, and it'll dramatically improve our lives as mamas when we're doing it for ourselves and then teaching our children how to do this work from an early age. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you need some sort of starters, I'm a wonderful mother because I love what kind of a mother I am in the following ways.
Yeah.
I enjoy mothering because, you know, yeah. And just know, I remember when I first started self-hugging, I felt so silly. Like I felt like embarrassed. Like I was like, people, you know, wow. I mean, I even did it the other day in a public setting.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because there were people in front of me, there were couples in front of me, and they were all over each other. And I started to feel some, you know, because John died and I am, you know, now soulfully single. Yeah. And I was feeling kind of sad. Like I don't have anyone to snuggle up. And I was like, wait a minute, I've got me. And I wrapped my arms around and I was squeezing myself. and I did feel a little bit, you know, a little bit funny in that setting. But now I can honestly say that I have no qualms whatsoever. And it happened pretty, you know, I only practiced for a little while before I lost that feeling of silliness.
Yeah.
So, and also most people don't do it long enough. So, you know, it can be really shy, like, okay, I'll do it. Okay, that was good.
Right.
You know, and just remember when we hug a friend and you know, those really good friends that you hug.
Yeah.
And the hug is so good.
Yeah.
You don't want to let go. I love to say, still hugging.
Yeah.
And just, you know, don't stop, you know, still hugging.
Still hugging. I love it. It's so cute because Evie right now, we do this game where she runs to the edge of like the brick in front of our house. And then I'll sit on the front porch step and then I'll go, ready, set, go. And then she'll run towards me with her arms stretched out going, Huggies, Huggies. And she runs and then we hug and we just sit there and hug for a minute and then she runs back and does it again. It's like the sweetest Huggies game ever. And but it's like, we don't need to, you know, we don't need to have a 2-year-old that's running up. We can do that for ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I feel like that kind of takes us into, and I was thinking about this too, when you were talking about those moments when we get resentful, when we feel like we're sacrificing, when we feel like we're holding a gazillion different things and we don't see a way out of it and we feel victimized by the whole thing, that it really leads into that inner child conversation. Because I know sometimes for me, when I have a client, like with one of my VIP coaching clients or whatever, when they'll be saying something and I'll say, how old do you feel right now? Mm-hmm. And then they'll be like, oh, I feel like I'm about 13 in junior high and I'm feeling really left out. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk to that 13-year-old. And I know that you were sharing before we started recording here that you have, did you say 8 inner children that you work with on a consistent basis?
Yes. You know, and before I talk about that, you just called something else to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Which is families are very responsive to pattern shifts and pattern interrupts. So what I mean by that is we all get into little routines that are common. Like we sit in a similar place, we drive in the car in a similar way. You know, we just naturally start
habits. Yeah,
our habits.
Yeah.
And anytime you can interrupt a habit, I'm just thinking of one time I did one with my mom and I got the whole family to join. You know, it was one of these Crabby car times.
Oh yeah.
And I just said, I just had an idea. I said, are you guys willing to play? And my mom, for some reason, said yes. You know, she was a pretty fun mom. But I said, let's get out and run around the car and get back in a different spot.
Yeah.
And that was all it took.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole car trip changed.
Yeah.
You know, and so anytime you can find a way to interrupt the pattern, even for 1 minute, even for 30 seconds, you know, I offer that and your family will find it fun and funny.
I love that. I'm just thinking that sometimes we do that in my house where we'll be like, I'll just all of a sudden, like everybody's crabby, everyone's hungry, we're trying to get dinner on the table, and I'll just be like, dance party, everybody. Yeah. And then you just put on a song and then everyone's in there grooving and dancing. And it's completely, it's a pattern interrupt. And it like literally biochemically speaking, shifts that pattern and shifts that neural pathway, like lickety split. And then an entirely new vibration can be reached. I love it.
And it builds new, it literally builds brain plasticity.
Yes.
I mean, now your kids have a tool. Like, animals don't carry trauma around because they move all the time. They shake it out. They stand up, they stretch, they do downward dog, literally.
Yeah.
And they're always moving. So, you can say, oh, that was crabby, let's brush it off.
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't feel good, let's brush it off. And it really, really works.
Oh my gosh. You just had me think too with Annabella when she was younger, and when she would be crabby or I would be crabby, we'd go, Crabby, Crabby, go away. I want to feel happy today. It would just immediately, like, the crabbies would just like burst out, and like her mood would shift, my mood would shift, and it worked like a charm, man.
Yes.
Got to bring that back in.
Yeah. Well, I think naming is so powerful, because sometimes families can fall into just trying to get away from, because it's uncomfortable. Let's just get away from it. Oh, everyone, like, let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't work.
Right. It would be effective to ignore it if it worked. Damn it.
Yeah.
I know, it doesn't work. Yeah.
So the subject of inner child, inner children, every developmental age is still inside of us. So all of us have about 8 inner children, and I have chosen to focus on from infancy all the way up to 19. And so I can describe my care system briefly. It's unusual.
Yes. Yeah.
But it can be of use to people who may wish to do something similar, and of course their own style and their own way.
Yeah.
But I first started, it usually helps to communicate with one of the inner children inside. And you can just say what child wants to speak, or what energy is here. Like you said, that you were talking to a client and they had an awareness that there was a 13-year-old.
Right.
Sometimes it's younger. It's like a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And I located my 7-year-old crouching under a piano bench inside my imagination.
Oh.
And she was sobbing, and she was so thin and scared, and it was so heartbreaking. And I really, coaxed her out of there, and I sat her on my lap and was kind of stroking her hair, and she calmed down, and I said, I'm here now, and I'm your mother, and I'm not leaving you.
Oh.
And I had abandoned her, and this is common, so I'll talk a little bit, and some of these things are more in depth, and
yeah, sure,
but I want people to kind of have a taste of it.
Yeah.
Because then I discovered, because the thing is, well, an easy way to say it is corporations are, for the most part, run by 5-year-olds. There's a lot of 5-year-olds, unparented 5-year-olds, inner children 5-year-olds screaming and running, and because kids will try to be involved in everything, and no matter if it's age appropriate. If you don't have some kind of inner child care system, your inner children are going to come to business meetings. They're going to sit in with your own children, and they're going to start reacting based on, you're going to have reactions to your own children at the ages that you have that age inside that gets triggered.
Yes. Yes.
So,
I do know that. And like, so I just want to, just to kind of give some context for everybody, no matter what age your children are right now, I want you to just imagine for a moment how their 7-year-old or 13-year-old or 19-year-old or whatever age they are, how are they reflecting that same age in you? And how is that actually getting triggered right now in your life by that? And I think it's so great that you're saying this, Susan, because I see that, especially with my oldest, with Annabella. She's 8.5, and it's like, I see my 8.5-year-old. I see that 3rd grader, my inner 3rd grader, all the time in her. And it kind of freaks me out. Mm-hmm. It scares me a little bit, because I'm like, oh my God, like, I feel like, especially as girls, like we start on that pattern of like noticing more of what our body looks like and how it looks different than other people, and like that whole comparison game, and then the being left out game and all that stuff. And then it's like, I feel like I'm trying to mother her from my own 3rd grader instead of being able to be the adult.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah. And thank you for saying that and sharing that, because I know many will relate. And if they haven't thought of it this way, they'll say, let me think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I found out that my inner children were trying to come to work. I mean, they were coming with paintbrush and dictionary and, whatever they thought. And so I started realizing I want to establish a care system. So I created an imaginary tree. And so this gets a little wild, so just stay with me. But
I would expect nothing more, nothing less from the succulent wild woman than something wild.
I created an imaginary tree house where each child has a pod that's age appropriate for that child.
Huh.
And then I realized it was too much work for me, so I created an imaginary nanny. And her name is Madeline. And then Madeline actually had so much work to do that she asked if she could bring her boyfriend from Ireland, whose name is Sam. So Sam and Madeline preside over this treehouse that's in the imaginary backyard of my inside of me. And she wears a front pack and carries the infant me all the time. And the 19-year-old actually left and went to Big Sur to live with Joan Baez and do her own books. And the 10-year-old, the 13-year-old was really lonely. And so we created a friend for her, because I don't enjoy doing a lot of kind of organized activities and groups and things. And she was a kind of kid that liked that.
Yeah.
So her best friend, whose name is Clover and she and the family have adopted my inner 13-year-old, and they're always off on trips and adventures. They're at water parks. It's making it sound like it's complicated, but it's really not, because what I do is I have a morning check-in with all the kids, and then I have an evening check-in with all the kids. And they I say, okay, kids, come on in, give me a hug. I'm going to be busy today. I don't invite children to business meetings, especially when it's not age appropriate. And this has made a tremendous difference in my life. And so I'm glad we're talking about this, because this can make a tremendous difference in the mothering that you're able to do as you mother your own inner children.
So what about the people that are listening that had a really crappy childhood and who had maybe even a mom that wasn't well, or a mom or a dad or whoever that was abusive, like where it's like even thinking about those inner children just has why bother thinking about your inner children when it's like the last thing you want to do is go back to a childhood if it was a really unhappy one.
Right.
Right? Like that's the first question. And then it's like also how do we know if we're ripe and we need to do this work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent questions. So first, I was abused in my family, and it started when I was 7. And so that 7-year-old was acting out for attention in major ways, because she had been completely abandoned by me.
Yeah.
And so it was coming out in all kinds of ways where I was acting out in my adult life in ways that, let me think of how it showed itself. It's been some years now since I did this work.
Yeah.
So first, in answer to your question, you can try to avoid any work, any transformational work.
Right.
And you can actually live your life that way.
Yeah.
And if you would like to experiment and explore in feeling even better than you do,
yeah,
you're going to want to experiment with doing some of this kind of work. And so one way to start would be, if you have a feeling like, let's say you have the difficult childhood and the difficult parent. I had a wonderful mother, but also kind of an absent and emotionally not very mature mother.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get a lot of the mothering that would have been very good for me. I didn't get that.
Yeah.
So I've been able to go back and remother those children to such an extent that I feel those children have been healed. Those inner children, I have no more sadness.
Wow.
And this was a childhood. This was incest. This led to depression, suicide attempt. It led me into poverty. I mean, there was considerable damage.
Yeah.
So I know that the inner child work I was able to do, and by the way, it didn't take that long. And it wasn't that difficult. I mean, there was some pain. You know, when I found that child crouched under the piano bench sobbing and was all thin, I felt terrible. But that was within me. That was part of me.
Right.
And I knew it.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that I took the time. There's so many resources now. There's good books on inner child. There's an inner child workbook that I'm thinking of right now. I can't think of the author at this moment. But you know, even just getting in touch, just feeling like, do I have a child or more than one that is feeling abandoned or inside of me that I'm aware of? Even just that awareness is a tremendous amount.
I love that. And I think when we explore this kind of work and really allow ourselves to get to know ourselves better, there is this layer of brilliance that can come forth, because it is then that we can respond from the adult woman and the adult mother and become more of the mom that we were born to be, if we're not trying to mother from that third grader or that 5-year-old space.
Yes.
Right. And so I just think that that's one of the things that makes it so important, is for us to really get that, when we don't work with these types of things, they end up running amok and they end up acting out.
Well, they end up running your life.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the part people don't realize, you know. They think, you know, people think, well, I can just, maybe I'll do that later. Yeah, like you asked that wonderful second question. How do you know that this is showing up in your life?
Yeah.
Well, if you're in power struggles with your children, it's usually an inner child of yours that's gotten triggered. You know, if you're having repetitive power struggles that are not getting solved, if you feel bad, you know, there's such a thing as looking at your child, and of course you love them, and then you can also be jealous. I remember my mother telling me, well, I didn't get this kind of treatment, you know, like,
wow,
you know, nobody was this nice to me. You know, and it was like there was a woman who hadn't done that type of work.
Right.
And so she was, of course, doing the best she could, but she would lash out because she had those really damaged inner children. And, you know, I love taking a group of people and taking them through some very simple and powerful exercises and guided imagery things so that they can locate this part, and so they can figure out who is it that needs their attention, give them that attention, and then watch their life open up as a result.
I love it. Will you do that in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, if you could believe it, we're actually winding down here. It went way too fast.
Winding
down the show now, Susan. But will you come back on the show? Because I know that there's a gazillion different other things that you
I'd love to be on the show. I love
it. I love having you on the show. My gosh.
I love your show. And I'm so happy for all the mothers that get to have this show and other shows and things that support this kind of really transformational, philosophical, practical, and deep, really deep transformative work and play. You know, like these are real life. I mean, Amy, you know, you're not just a real life mom, you're a real life transformer.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
And so am I. And so are people that are listening. Even if you've done some of this or you've ever thought of this, you know, now you're engaged.
Yeah.
So, you know, remember how powerful awareness is.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. And you know, and yes, there is a time to do some things, but you know, just being introduced to ideas or considering them is doing something.
That's right. Well, and that's why, you know, I always say the Mama Truth shows for soulful, conscious mamas. And that does not mean that we are perfect. It does not mean that we're these enlightened moms that are doing everything right and we always make the right decision. It just means that we're conscious when we screw up, that we're conscious about it, that we're conscious about the repair of it, that we're conscious around going, wow, that's a real growth edge for me. I really need to work on that. Well,
and excuse me, who really wants those moms, you know, that know everything and do it all right? You know, it's
right.
There's a lot of tension there. It's something very aggressive.
Yeah.
Self-aggressive and aggressive. You know, we've all, you know, yeah. So it's meeting yourself where you are, bring yourself as you are to this show and listen to Amy and listen to the people that she brings on here, and anything, things will seep in. Things will seep in and awareness will grow.
Love it. Well, one of the questions that we always ask our guests on the Mama Truth Show is, what is messy and what is magical for you about motherhood? So I'm curious for you, Susan, what is messy and what is magical about mothering your inner children right now, or being a godmother like you are to the children in your life, including my girls, by the way?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think for me, messy is the part, is all the work. Let's see. Messy is when the parts of me that I'm not as pleased with show up.
That was a very PC way to say that.
Well, let me say it another way. When I'd like to be patient and interested, and instead I'm distracted and impatient.
Yeah.
When I want to show up and be excited about something that the child is doing, but instead I'm bored and I want to go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Magical right away it comes to mind of the other day talking with your beautiful daughter, Evie Rose, who I get to talk to quite a bit on the phone, and hear her little fluty voice saying, I want to talk to Susan.
Yes.
I want to talk to Susan. And then her new one lately is, what are you doing?
Yes.
Or, what are you doing? And so, I'm saying ordinary things that I'm doing. And then this one day I said to her, she said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm planting flowers in my soul. And there was this slight silence, and she said, I want to come. I want to come. Oh my gosh. My heart just expanded and melted simultaneously.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, now I'm going to go cry. Oh, so good. So good, honey. So good. Oh, so all of you, I just want to encourage you, go over to planetsark.com. This will be in the show notes as well. planetsark.com. Susan/Sark has so many amazing things that she's doing in the world, from creatives getting their books out in the world and their work out in the world, to relationships and Succulent Wild Love, her latest book, which she co-authored with the amazing Dr. John Waddell, to so much more. And I just can't say enough amazing things about this woman. She's changed my life through her work and changed my life through getting to have her in my daily life. And I love and adore her. And I know all of you will love and adore her too.
Oh,
so,
Amy.
I love you.
I want to come.
I want to come. So, mamas, thanks for tuning in. Remember, go on to mamatruthcircle.com, mamatruthcircle.com, join our amazing tribe of soulful mamas, and post up on our Facebook group the words, I am a wonderful mom because, and acknowledge yourself. You are doing an incredible job, an incredible job. And yes. I'm so proud of you just for listening to this. Yes, you can hug yourself right now. You're doing an amazing job. And next week, we'll be talking about worry and anxiety as worry wart. And we're going to talk about some tools to release the worry and anxiety, which I know has been so present for me as a mom. So tune in next week. In the meantime, keep embracing the messiness and the magic of motherhood. Bye-bye, mamas.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you've heard, the biggest compliment you can give us is to share the Mama Truth Show with a friend and subscribe, rate, and review our podcast at iTunes. And make sure to visit mamatruthcircle.com to become part of our free community of soulful mamas. Until next time, keep embracing the messiness and the magic of motherhood.